Hi boys and girls, it's Miss Davis again, and since it's summer, we're going to learn to draw a beach ball today. So this is not just any beach ball, we're going to make this beach ball have form. If you don't know what form means that something is 3D. It's got height, it's got width, and it's got depth, which means it's deep. So it's three-dimensional. Okay, you can think of sculptures as having form. Okay, you can walk all the way around them. You can see that they're tall. You can see that they're wide, and you can see that they're deep. So they're three-dimensional. Anything that exists in space is 3D. Okay, so my eraser here is three-dimensional. Okay, my eraser has height. My eraser has width. Okay, so it's wide, and if you turn it, it's also deep. Okay, so it's got some depth to it, which means this eraser is three-dimensional. Now, if I drew this eraser on a piece of paper, okay, it would be two-dimensional. It would have height and width, but since we're drawing flat, it wouldn't really have any depth. We're going to give the illusion of depth today. So even though we're drawing on a flat, two-dimensional piece of paper that has height and width and doesn't really have any depth, we're still going to make our beach ball look like it's 3D, okay? And here's how we're going to do it. We are going to start with a big circle. Now, if you need to find something big to trace this, that's fine, but I like to just start with really short lines. Okay, so when you have a big, long line to make and you're a little nervous about making it, just start with some short lines, and that way you can kind of correct as you go. Okay, and when you're done, you can still correct, so you don't have to make it perfect the first time around. Alright, and just remember to draw lightly because we do make mistakes, and that's what erasers are for. Just remember that not everybody is perfect. We all are going to make some mistakes, and that's why pencils have erasers. Okay, so just draw lightly because you know you're going to make some mistakes because not everybody's perfect. Alright, so there's my circle, and it's not perfect, but I think I like it this way. I'm going to leave it, and I might erase some of this line right here because I made it a little too thick. So I'm just going to use my eraser to kind of erase part of that. And once again, mine is not perfect. Yours will not be perfect, but that's okay because we are learning. Alright, now, let me pick it up just to make sure you guys can see what I did. I just made a big circle in the middle of my paper, easy peasy. Okay, so now we're going to make that top circle on the beach ball. So we're going to make another circle. And I'm actually going to kind of make it over here on the side. Okay, so it's not going to actually be on the top pointed towards the sky. It's going to be kind of on the side like the beach ball is laying on its side. Okay, something like this. And just keep in mind I'm making really, really short lines. I'm not doing everything at once. Okay, because short lines kind of help us correct as we go. And I'm drawing lightly, because I'm bound to make some mistakes. Even Miss Davis makes some mistakes. And looky here, I've got a couple of lines that are a little thick, so I'm going to use my eraser, and I'm just going to erase on the inside a little bit to get some of those extra lines gone off my paper. And again, I drew lightly so that it's really easy for me to erase. And if you are struggling to erase your lines, think about getting some of these nice polymer erasers. They're usually white, and it just makes erasing so much easier. So as always, draw lightly, but then if you're still struggling, try the polymer erasers, okay? You can just get them at Walmart or any store that has some nice art supplies, okay? Okay, and here is the part where we are going to make our beach ball look round. So we're going to start making those beach ball stripes, okay? But when we draw a beach ball, you know, we want our beach ball to look round. So what we're going to do is we're going to make those sections or those lines round, okay? We're going to make them look like they kind of wrap around the sides and the back of the beach ball, okay? So I'm actually going to turn my paper, and that just makes it a little bit easier. And I'm going to turn it to where the top of my beach ball, that big white dot, is like pointed away from me, okay? And that's just going to make this look a little more symmetrical because we're going to draw the same thing on one side that we draw on the other, okay? So here's what I'm going to do. If you've ever seen what looks like parentheses, okay, there are two lines that curve towards each other on the top and the bottom, but away from each other in the middle, so they kind of look like this. Okay, you can think of it like a letter C and a backwards letter C. If you've already started typing in school, you can find them on your keyboard, and they're just called parentheses, and they go around a little section of words, okay? So we're going to draw what looks like parentheses. Okay, kind of starting right here near the bottom of our circle, we're going to start a line going out. And then before we get to the bottom of the beach ball, we're going to come back in. Okay, now these two lines, they don't have to touch down here. Okay, but they do need to go the opposite direction. So whatever you do on one side of your beach ball, we're going to do the opposite on the other side. All right, and it's okay if it's not perfect. All right, because nobody's perfect. I'm not perfect. Mine aren't perfect. So it's okay if they're not perfect. So on the next one, we're going to move up to the side of our small circle here. And we're going to go ahead and curve out. And then we're going to kind of extend the space right here, okay? So we're going to curve out and then almost just kind of straight down. So watch this. I'm going to curve out. And then I'm not going to come in too far. I'm just going to go ahead and end right here on the side of my beach ball. So it looks like that line is kind of wrapping around the back side of the beach ball. So let's do the same thing on the other side. Remember to make it look nice and round. Okay, something like that. And I might, actually, this one looks a lot better to me. So I think I might go in here and maybe start about here and kind of curve that line around just a little bit more, not too much. Okay, and just make it look a little more symmetrical, which means it's the same on both sides. Okay, and mine's still not perfect, and that's okay, because it still looks like a nice round beach ball. Okay, so now we're going to move up here towards the top. Okay, this one's going to go, this one's going to look more like a hill. Okay, so we're going to go up and down, okay? So we went ahead and touched the side of the beach ball. We went up and down to curve that line. So we're going to do the same thing on this side. We're going to go up and down. Oh, and this one's quite a bit shorter because it's not exactly the same on either side because I'm not perfect. Okay, and you're not going to be perfect, so it's okay if it stops a little early. And we've got, let's see, let's make two more. Okay, one right here and one right here. And I'm going to go ahead and curve this one like, let's say like bug antennas, okay, that kind of go out away from each other. See what I'm saying? Like bug antennas, they just go, they kind of start going up and then out, okay, something like that. And that's how you make a beach ball look round. You have to have those lines round, those round lines that kind of wrap around the side of the beach ball. Okay, so now all we have to do is add our background details. So your background details are not going to look like my background details. So you can follow along with mine or you can come up with your own. I think I'm going to make my beach ball look like it's sitting in the sand. Okay, so I'm going to take a wavy line and I'm just going to cut right through kind of the bottom of my beach ball here. And then since my beach ball is sitting down in that sand, I'm going to erase the bottom of the beach ball kind of right there below my wavy line. And that's going to make it look like it's sitting down in the sand instead of on top of the sand. Okay, look, somebody kicked it and it just kind of went splat and fell right into a little hole in the sand or made a little hole in the sand, something like that. Okay. All right, I think behind my beach ball, I need an ocean because this beach ball's on the beach. So for the ocean, I'm going to go ahead and do a straight line because while the ocean, you know, is very wavy, if you actually look out over the ocean, okay, the line where the sky meets the ocean is actually very straight. So you only see the waves when they're kind of up close to the beach. But if you look out away from the beach, you can kind of see where the sky meets the ocean, and it's actually a very straight line. So here's my sky here, and here's where my ocean meets. Okay, and actually I need a little bit more ocean, so I might make a little wavy line here. So this is where the water, okay, hits the sand back here. And I'm actually going to double up that line and make one more line on top. And this is going to be the foam right here. So I'm going to have my blue ocean back here. And then I'm going to have a little wavy line of some white foam like it's hitting the beach and becoming all foamy. All right. Okay, what else can we add? Oh, I know. Let's add something funny. I'm going to add somebody's flip-flop sticking out of the sand. All right, so somebody either lost their flip-flop or threw them off as they went to play in the ocean. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and draw, this is going to kind of be like a triangle. How am I going to do this? Kind of like this. See how it's almost like a triangle? Okay, so just to clarify, this is the line that goes across your foot. Okay, this is the line that holds all of your little toes, and then this is the line that holds your big toe, so your big toe will be over here. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of cap that off. There's a flip-flop there. And maybe I'll make my flip-flop look 3D. Oh, that would be cool. Let's make the flip-flop look like it has some form. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start at the top, and just on one side, I'm going to draw the side of the flip-flop. Okay, just like that. Okay, see how my line gets closer to the top, and then as it goes down, it gets a little farther away. So that's the side of the flip-flop. All right, and then you can decorate your flip-flop if you're following along with me. I'm just going to leave it plain, I think. Or you know what? I think I might go ahead and round off the ends of my, what do you call this? The little strap on the flip-flop. I don't know what you call that. Maybe you know what you call that. Let me know. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and erase my extra lines that I don't need. Okay, since I ended the little plastic piece on the flip-flop there. Okay. And again, right here is where the big toe goes, and then the little strap goes between the big toe and the small toes. The small toes are over here, and this one goes across your foot, so then your foot goes this way. Okay, so there's a flip-flop. What else could we draw? Maybe a little bottle of sunscreen. I think I'm going to go ahead and draw another wavy line. And I'm going to put a little bottle of sunscreen in here. So, let's see, I'm going to make the squeeze kind of bottle where the cap is on the bottom. So the cap is going to be stuck in the sand. Okay, kind of down in there. And so the top, okay, is like melted together. It's the kind that you sit upside down on top of its cap. Does that make sense? Okay, so here's some sunblock. And there's the label. Okay, so this is the label. I'm going to put a little sunshine on my label. Okay, something like that. And I'll write the word sunscreen. If I can fit it on here. Oh, I can't fit it on here. I'll have to write smaller. Oh, you know what I'll do? I'll use the whole label. I'll write sun up here. And then I will write screen down here. There we go. And I'll have to use a little bitty pen to trace that later. Alright, so there's my sunscreen sticking out of the sand there. We got a flip-flop sticking out. We got the ocean back here. What else could we draw? Let's draw a few clouds. Okay, it's a nice sunny day. Let's draw the sun over here. Okay, it's a nice sunny day. I'm going to do this kind of sun ray. Okay, where it's pointy coming out. Okay, and you draw the sun however you like to draw the sun. Okay, and then just because it's sunny doesn't mean there's not clouds. We're going to have a few little white puffy clouds. And on my clouds, I like to make the top puffy and then the bottom kind of flat. And that's just how I do it. Okay, so you make your own clouds. And you can have some big and some small. Maybe you can have a half of a cloud kind of going off the paper. So we don't cram things. We don't want to cram things on the paper. It actually looks more realistic to let things look like they're going off the paper. Okay, let's make one more down here. Maybe a really small one. It's really far away. Because remember, the farther away things get, the smaller they look. Okay, they are actually the same size when you get them up close, but they look smaller the farther away they are. Alright, so maybe a few birds. We can put just a few little seagulls in the sky. And I think I'm about done with my details. Alright, so you draw your details until you are happy with them. Oh, and remember, they'll get smaller as they're farther away. So maybe this one's really far away, and this one's really far away. Okay, maybe we got a big one flying up close right here. All right, maybe one more big one right here. Okay. right, so now it's time to trace. Okay, so I went through all of my pens and markers and I found a bunch of different blacks that I can use to trace. And so I'm just going to speed up the video and I'm going to trace all of my lines the way I want to. And you can pause the video or keep the speed drawing going. And you can trace your lines and color the way you want. And just enjoy and have fun, because that's the whole point of this really, is to have fun. All right, here I go. I've got all of my base colors on. Now, if you want to leave it here, you can do that. But I'm going to give my picture even more form. So remember, form makes things look like they're three-dimensional, even though we're drawing on a two-dimensional surface. Okay, so our paper is very flat. It's got height and it's got width. So our picture is very flat, but we can still make it look 3D. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to start adding some shadows. Now you can take any of these darker colors. So if you were going to shade this purple, maybe you could use a blue to do some shadows. Okay, if you were going to shade this red, you might just pick up a darker red, like we've got this one right here, which is called red violet. Okay, and we're just going to add just a little bit of shadow on the opposite side of where the sun is coming from. Okay, so I want you to think of these shadows as being on the opposite side of any light source. So our light source today is the sun, and the sun is shining down on our beach ball. It's shining down on the sand. And so any little like dips that may be hiding from the sun would need a shadow. Any little areas kind of facing away from the sun would need a shadow. And you can just follow along, and I'm going to do this really simply. Of course, you can leave it here if you don't want to do anything else, but I'm going to take, let's start with the clouds, and I'm just going to take a light gray, and I'm going to put just a little bit of a shadow underneath my cloud here. I'm not pressing down too hard. Okay, and that'll just give it a little more of a round look. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing underneath each of my little clouds. And that just means that the light is shining on top of it. Okay, and casting a shadow on the bottom of it. And look here, I'm even going to go up this one side of the cloud. Okay, because this side of the cloud is actually facing away from the sun, isn't it? So then this side of the cloud would be facing towards the sun, and it would have the most light shining on it. So I'm going to put my shadow on the opposite side of this cloud. And I think I'll do that on this side too. Okay, and that's another way we can add form, is just by adding some very light shadows. Okay, you get these two over here. And this one, the sun's shining straight down, so I'm not going to go up the side of this one or this one. Okay, just going to put it kind of underneath and fade it out into that white space. See how it gets lighter as it goes towards my white space? Alright, let's add some shadow to the sand. So my sand, I used peach or apricot. And so I'm going to shade with a little bit of brown. So I'm going to get out my brown. Okay, and then see how the beach ball has gone down into the sand, making this little dip here. Same thing with the sunscreen. So I'm going to start down here in this little crevice, this little dip that has been made by the beach ball. And this is kind of an area where the sun wouldn't be shining. So I'm just going to add a little bit of a dark area there. Very light, very light. I'm not pressing very hard, but all along this line. Kind of put just a little bit of brown, and then as we move away from that line, we get lighter. We don't press down anymore. We kind of blend it into that apricot or that peach color of the sand. Okay, and see how it almost looks like a shadow now. All right, so let's do that again right here. So down here in this crevice, kind of this little dip in the sand, we're going to have a little dark area, and then we're going to blend it out light. Okay, and we want it to blend into that peach color. Okay, so something like that. So not very much at all, just a little subtle shadow. Okay, blend it out, blend it out. Alright, so there's my sand shadow. Let's do a little shadow on this flip-flop here. So since I colored with purple, I think blue is going to make a really good shadow. So I'm going to get out my Bluetiful here. That's what this one's called. And I'm going to color kind of up under the little sandal stripe here. Ooh, see how that makes a nice shadow there? Just a little line, kind of following that line. I may blend it out a little bit, so I'm getting lighter as I move away from the sandal strap. I'm kind of blending it into my purple. Okay, and there we go. And I might even, let's see, I might even do one on this side. Okay, because it's facing away from the sun and kind of casting a shadow on this flip-flop here. And as I move away from the strap, I get lighter and lighter and lighter. And I'm just having fun blending, okay? Maybe I'll do just a little bit on this side, not too much because the sun is kind of shining right here on top of the flip-flop. We can do a little bit coming up from the bottom though. Alright, so there's a little bit of shadow on that flip-flop, making that flip-flop look a little more 3D, like it's sitting there in space instead of flat on a piece of paper. And the final thing that I'm going to shade is my beach ball. Now this one's going to be a little more difficult because we've got 3 different colors we're going to shade. We're going to shade part of this yellow, we're going to shade part of the white areas here, and part of the red to make it look round. So let's start with yellow. Whenever I shade yellow, I like to use orange, okay? So orange is just slightly darker than yellow. And I'm just going to start right here near the bottom line where it's touching the sand. And I'm going to go dark at first. In fact, I might get a different orange. I'm going to get this orange because it's a little darker. Okay, and that's really going to make that shadow dark. But as I move up the beach ball, I'm going to get lighter and lighter and lighter. And I'm just barely touching the beach ball now because I want it to blend into that yellow. Okay, and that created a nice, pretty looking shadow there. Alright, let's do the white. So we're going to need our gray again. So again, right down here near the line where it's touching the sand, we want a dark line of shadow that we're going to blend out light. So dark first. Okay, and then we're just going to blend it out a little lighter. I'm not pushing nearly as hard as I was on that first line. And I'm going to blend it out a little lighter. Okay, so each little area that I color is a little lighter. Okay, now I'm barely touching the paper. And I want it to eventually kind of blend into that white area. So now I'm just almost not even touching the paper anymore. Just not even touching the paper, just barely. This is my last area I'm going to color. And I just almost want this area to look white. Okay. Just like that. And while we've got the gray in our hand, let's go ahead and shade a little bit of this area. Okay, so we're going to shade up to about here because the light sometimes kind of wraps around a little bit. So I'm going to start down here in this corner. And I'm going to go nice and dark. And then I'm going to go a little bit lighter. Okay, a little lighter. And now I'm barely touching the paper again. Just barely touching it. Okay, I almost just want it to be white now. I'm going to blend it back into the original color, which was white. Alright, now we need to shade our red. What should we shade red with? Well, we can get out this kind of a darker red. It's actually mixed with a little bit of purple, but that's okay. So it's called red violet. Violet means purple, so it's got a little bit of purple in it, but that's okay. We're going to use it as a shading color, okay, because it's quite a bit darker than red. Alright, so I'm going to start with my really dark line down here on the edge of the beach ball. Okay. And I'm just going to color a little bit here, and then I'm going to blend it out. Alright, so I'm starting to lighten up my pressure here. I'm not pressing as hard as I was. And you know what? This shadow is pretty light. I don't think this color was dark enough. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some purple and only put it at the very bottom of my shadow, okay? Alright. So, that was that color. I'm going to take my purple and very lightly, because this purple is extra dark now, I'm just going to very lightly put a little bit down here and blend it up into that red, okay? Very lightly. I'm not pressing hard at all. That's how dark this purple is. Okay, very lightly. I'm barely touching the paper now. And see how that crayon color blends? Crayons blend pretty nicely. Crayola markers don't blend as well as the crayons do. And if you want to play with your blending, try the colored pencils. Colored pencils blend really well. Alright, so now we've made our sand look 3D. It's got some dimension here. It's got some shadow. Makes it look like it's going away from you just a little bit. We got some nice shadow on our flip-flop, making our flip-flop look 3D. Ooh, we got some shadow on our clouds because they're facing away from the sun. And we've even made our beach ball look 3D. Alright guys, and there is our three-dimensional beach ball. Excellent work making your beach ball look three-dimensional and giving it some form. And if you have fun drawing with me and want to see more videos like these, please consider subscribing to my channel and becoming a part of my heart. I'm Miss Davis, and I will see you next time.